Hey guys, welcome back to video number 2 of our 3-part series. In this one we're gonna talk about ISO and how it affects your camera. Cue the intro. So what is really ISO? The best way that I can describe it for you is the sensitivity of the sensor to light. Basically, the lower value of ISO that you have in your camera, the cleaner the image. The higher value of your ISO, the more noise you're gonna start to introduce in your photos. I try to always shoot with the lowest ISO possible, which is natively 100 in my camera, and that it's gonna give me the cleanest image. ISO, it's used in many ways and many aspects of photography. Basically, by controlling your ISO alongside with your aperture and your shutter, you can achieve the right exposures for your images. When you have low light environment and the light is not available to you, a way that you can compensate for that is by raising your ISO, and the same is true for the opposite. If you have a lot of light in your scene and you're maxed out on your aperture and your shutter speed, you can always reduce your ISO to a right exposure. Basically, your camera will, if you have an auto in this case, your camera will always try to compensate for your ISO to have the correct value. If you shoot in landscapes or travel, most of the time you're gonna have your camera on a tripod, so it matters not how the other settings are. You can always leave your ISO at 100, and then that way you can get the cleanest images to work with on the computer. There are many tools and softwares that will let you, once you've taken the image, if you had no other choice and your image came out noisy, that can help you reduce the noise. A great example is Luminar or even Lightroom. You can put them in there and they have sliders that can reduce the amount of noise that you have in your images. This will soften the sharpness of the image, but at least it's gonna look a lot cleaner. There are other options technically that you could do by averaging multiple images in Photoshop, and that will give you an average of all of those exposures and giving you a much cleaner image with a lower noise value. There are many ways. Ideally, you just want to shoot at the lowest ISO possible. There's not much more else to it. I'm gonna demonstrate here on this camera. Pretty much your ISO is gonna be right here. Right now I have it set in auto, but if you were to move your ISO, you could see right there the different values. Different cameras will have better performance when it comes to low light, and what is the maximum ISO you can go up to, and at what point will the camera start to not be usable. Normally you can go up to 3200. Cameras nowadays are pretty good with ISO regardless of which camera you have, so you should have a problem with that. But normally you want to try to avoid going higher than 3200, maybe 6400 if you really need to, and that would render you the best and cleanest images that you can work with. Either way, if you're just posting these images on Instagram or social media, it really matters now because you're just putting it in like a really small format, so the images at that size are gonna all look clean. I will put 2 images side by side on the screen so you can see the comparison on how ISO will affect your images. That's it guys, this was a very short video. Really there's not much to ISO, don't think too much of it. Just remember, low ISO, low noise, high ISO, high noise. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.